2:00. We're going to call this emergency meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mrzinski,
Here.
Mr. Sprecher,
Here.
Ms. Ryan, here, Ms. Hallett, here.
Okay. Are there any public comments about anything that we're going to be talking about this afternoon? Anybody want to ask anything? Not that we can answer a question, but anybody want to say anything? No? Okay, we're going to move on. All right, discussion. Temporary delegation of certificate of approval authority. Carolyn, if you would kind of give us some background and why we're here.
Okay, so as we all know, we've experienced 2 natural disasters in 3 weeks, and parts of our local historic district have been pretty devastated. So in order to expedite recovery of those areas and the historic areas in general, the city is requesting that you consider delegation of your authority to issue certificate of approvals for certain storm-related repairs and replacements. And if you look at the attachments, Exhibit A, we've modified that to show the items that we're requesting you consider temporary delegation for. One would be porch replace and repair. Normally, if they're going to use anything other than the original materials and style, that would need to come in front of the board. But as you know, with the significant flooding we had, a lot of people probably are going to be needing to do porch repairs and replacements. So that would be the first item. The second item is related to roofs. With our second hurricane that came through, we had some wind damage, so some people might be needing to repair or replace roofs. Normally, if they were going to use a different material than what was originally there, that would come in front of you. We're requesting that that be a staff review at this point. And then the remaining items are siding, whether it be stucco, brick, or what have you. Normally, if they were going to be replacing their siding with anything other than the original material, that would come in front of you, but we're requesting that that be reviewed at a staff level. And then windows and doors, again, with the flooding, some people might have storm-related repairs to their windows and doors. And typically, if they were using something other than the original materials, that would need to come in front of you, and we're requesting that that be a staff level review. And I can answer any questions you have.
How long were you thinking of keeping this in place?
I think a good rule of thumb would maybe be, because it's storm-related damage, and I know this is probably something nobody wants to hear, but it might take years. So I would say 3 years like we do for our certificate of approval.
Okay. And this would be strictly storm-related repairs?
Strictly storm-related repairs, so damage that came from the storm.
All right, and we don't want this to happen, but between now and 3 years, if we have another disaster like this, will we just automatically let you continue doing it, or do you have to come back to us?
I think that would be up to you. I would say probably be good just to check boxes to come back if that were to happen.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, can I weigh in on this? This is City Attorney Andrew Dickman.
Sure.
So what staff is requesting of you is because of the fact that you're currently under a local state of emergency, which is also part of the county and governor's issuance of a state of emergency. So under that parameter, state statutes allows for the waiver of certain things to protect property and people. And so staff is requesting for folks that need to make quick repairs to their property to prevent damage, that we streamline it through an administrative part. So the only thing I want to add to that regarding the timeline is that this has to be tied to the local state of emergency. So when the local state of emergency is lifted, the administration would have to revert back to the normal procedures. So I don't think we can extend it out for 3 years or 2 years while we're under a local state of emergency. Certainly we could tie it to that, or we could set it out at 3 months, 4 months, and then come back and reissue it. We're also going to have to decide whether this is going to be done straight through an order from the city manager to waive these parts of the code, or whether it has to be done in an emergency ordinance through the Board of Commissioners. But either way, I think the point that I'm trying to make is that it has to be tied. Like, once the local state of emergency is lifted, it can no longer be waiving any codes that might require coming to a public hearing.
Okay, so at this point, let's say for this purposes that it's going to be as long as the state of emergency exists. When that runs out, maybe this board with the attorney could go back and look, because people are going to be repairing for quite a while.
Thank you for the clarification, sir. And I would like us to be able to come back if it's too short of a
Right,
time.
because it's
Okay,
going to take time.
I'd like to keep that option open for us.
Sounds good.
Okay, go ahead. Does anybody have any questions for Carolyn? Any clarifications or anything?
Okay, just as a question, if somebody doesn't like the staff's recommendations or something like that, can they come before the board, or does that?
Absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely.
so that's their absolute then?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, any other discussion on this
Not
piece?
that I
Do
know.
we understand exactly what we're doing?
Mm.
Go ahead.
No. There's a
Somebody wants to
woman
talk.
standing up.
Hi. Okay, because I had asked for comments, so,
Frankly, I thought the comments were for things not on the
That's
agenda,
fine.
but I would
Can
like
you-
to speak to this when it's appropriate. I would like to speak to
that's
it.
fine, that's fine. Come on back. Let's have your name and your address.
Sure. My name is Cindy Terrapini. My husband and I own a home in the district at 22 North Spring Boulevard. We also own multiple commercial properties in the downtown area. And I applaud the staff for trying to streamline this for people who need to make an immediate solution to the damage that they've had. I appreciate Mr. Dickman's comments. I was very concerned that this was going to go on too long, because if it's an immediate problem, people are going to deal with it immediately. And I don't, in the next 60, 90 days. Other than that, I think they need to go through the regular process. So I think that's a good idea. I appreciate his comment about tying it to the state of emergency. I also want to make sure, and maybe it'll be in the final ordinance or resolution, whatever, that the Board of Commissioners passes, that it's only for damage from Helene and Milton. It's not retroactive, doesn't apply to other projects that might have previously had a certificate of appropriateness, or might have a certificate of appropriateness pending and has nothing to do with storm damage. And I'm specifically speaking about Cohatch, so I want to ask the staff, is this going to apply to Cohatch, or is they going to go through the same regular process that they have to go through?
Absolutely not. We have other cases that are pending, and they're going to be meeting at the regular meetings.
Okay,
This is
great.
strictly for storm damage.
I just want to be sure. I think it's absolutely a fair thing to do for people who had storm damage, but again, I don't think it needs to go on forever. And I think it's a good idea to have this, to let people, they need to make a repair quickly. And so that's what this process would do. And I think it's a good idea with those safeguards that we've talked about. And thank you for your time.
Great, thank you. Any other comments as long as I opened it up to her? No? Okay. If there aren't any more questions or discussion, I would like someone to make a motion. And I'm thinking that maybe part of the motion should mention the two storms, Helene and Milton. Okay,
Yeah, I'll make the motion to accept the recommendations as written for the 5 areas. And this is for storm damage only, Milton and
Helene,
Helene.
Second.
okay. We have a motion. Any more discussion on that?
Our timeframe that we're assigning to it then? I know, because we don't know when the emergency is going to end. So maybe it's 60 days?
It's for the
Well,
state of emergency.
I would,
To put one in?
per the attorney, I would say in the motion, we say during the period of emergency with with the inclusion of, we will come back and revisit it when the state of emergency is
Okay,
lifted.
I'll add that to the motion, that
Do we typically know how long those last?
No.
So
I think depends on how long it takes.
we had
them.
Debbie, how long did it last?
Well, it wasn't as bad, so I don't know. It could last as long as the need is there.
I would hate
So,
to,
I-
yeah.
I can try to address that question. In order for the city to issue its own local state of emergency, it has to do so under a state, the governor issued state of emergency. So while the governor's state of emergency is in place, I would imagine the city they have to they only last for a certain period of time. So the declaration of the local state of emergency has to be renewed periodically. And so as long as the city feels that it's important for it to be in a local state of emergency, it will continue to do so, but it's not going to be in perpetuity. A lot of that is done because of the FEMA cleanup and reimbursement and things of that nature, but it has to be renewed from time to time, but it's all tied also to once the governor lifts the state of emergency.
Okay, for clarification though, say the state lifts it, and our Board of Commissioners say, no, I think we need to do it for another month. Does that supersede the state's removal of the emergency?
Yes, so the city has to work under a governor's state of emergency. So the city could not issue a declaration of emergency of this nature anyway during dealing with a storm emergency unless the governor has issued it. Now, the governor will renew it or amend it from time to time, and I don't expect that the governor's state, executive or order will change or be lifted anytime soon, given the extent and breadth of the damage that occurred in Florida. But I think so the city's local state of emergency cannot be in place for the storm unless the governor's state of emergency is in place. Does that make sense?
Sort of, because you kind of, that didn't really answer my question. So the
So the city can't unilaterally
So
do
the
its
city,
own
the city
with that.
cannot extend it once the governor stops the state of emergency. The city cannot say, no, we want it for another month. So we cannot do that.
It's a complicated question, but it's directed by state statute. I don't want to give a blanket answer here, but generally speaking, what happens is that as long as the governor's state of emergency is in place, the city's local state of emergency will be in place, and then go from there.
Okay, all right, thank you.
If I could, I think tying it to the state of emergency is fine for right now, but within the motion you made stating that when that comes back, we will revisit it.
Yeah.
At that time, we could do something that is not tied to the state of
Perfect.
emergency.
That was what I was just going to say. Okay, good.
Okay, so we're going to add that to the motion, that we're going to tie it to
All right.
the,
You want to restate your motion so Kim has all the,
I did.
do you have it?
I can read.
Oh,
back
why
what
don't you
I
read
have.
back what we have?
Okay. To approve the temporary delegation for repairs related to storm damage from Helene and Milton to the extent of the state of emergency of the state of Florida, declared by the state of Florida.
All right, and I don't know if we need to add that we'll revisit it if needed. I don't think we have to add that to the motion.
I don't think we have to
Because we
add
could
that to
just
the
do that.
motion.
We can do
Just,
that.
Yeah, okay. All right, does everybody understand the motion and what a yes vote is and what a no vote is? Are there any more questions?
No.
All right, let's call the vote.
Ms. Hallett?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Sprecher?
Yes.
Mr. Mrazinski?
Yes. All right, thank you. Board and staff comments. Any other comments from the board here about anything?
When is the next scheduled meeting?
November, November 3rd, 2nd?
Fourth.
4th.
Fourth, yeah.
Are you kidding me? Isn't that election day?
It's Tuesday's
So
election
it's
day.
the day before Election Day.
So Tuesday's the 5th, that's elections.
Look, I've had, that would be my 4th meeting and I have to fly out on that Monday for work. So I need some way to get my project, which I've been waiting now for 4 meetings before the board.
I think that's a separate personal issue that is not really relevant to this meeting.
It's relevant as far as just, whoever I need to talk to after.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
discuss your case that was before.
Because
at a
now,
la-
because in Milton, it damaged my windows. So now I'm more of in a pickle because I have water physically coming into my home.
Okay, well, let's have an aside.
Okay.
Hi,
Looks
Renee.
like you want to say something.
I do. Renee Vincent, Planning and Zoning Director.
Hi.
We also just wanted to, ask you to kind of keep flexible. We may need to schedule special meetings as we go along, for things that might come up that aren't covered under this. So we're just trying to be accommodating to people through this. So I know you will be, but just wanted to get that into the record.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Okay, any more staff comments?
Yeah, so I did have a similar, was going to that,
Was that
to
your
that
staff
point.
comment?
That was one of them, but yeah, I would also wanted to gauge your flexibility. We do have a backlog, now of cases, so if you would be open to having additional meetings.
I am,
Yeah, whenever.
yeah, I think if it's important, certainly we'll meet.
Okay, so that's good. And then also, just as an aside, since we've got some folks from the public here, I will be acting as the city's liaison to the Fruit Bowl area. So I'm not ever going to have all of the answers, but I will help everybody try and find them. So if you're living in that hard-hit area, hit me up and I'll try and help you out, try and connect you with the resources that you need.
Okay. I will call this meeting adjourned at 2:17. Thank you, everyone.
I was told it was in 2 weeks.